Dr. So-Young Kim stared at the data streaming across her screen. The numbers made no sense. For 3 days, the ancient artifact had been sending out energy waves that should not exist. The Shadow Gate, as the scientists called it, had been silent for over 1,000 years. Now it was waking up. So-Young rubbed her tired eyes and looked at the readings again. The quantum signatures were off the charts. Energy patterns were jumping between dimensions like nothing she had ever seen before. Her research station orbited a dead planet at the edge of human space, far from any major trade routes. Most people forgot this place existed. That was exactly why Earth had put her here. "Computer, run the analysis again," she said. The artificial intelligence responded in its calm voice. "Analysis complete. Energy output has increased by 47% in the last 6 hours. Dimensional displacement readings are now beyond measurement parameters." So-Young stood up from her chair and walked to the large window that showed the Shadow Gate in the distance. The massive ring-shaped structure floated in space like a sleeping giant. It was made of some dark material that absorbed light instead of reflecting it. Ancient alien writing covered its surface, but no one had ever figured out what it meant. For the past 200 years, the Galactic Coalition had studied the gate. They sent their best scientists and most advanced equipment. All they learned was that it was very old and very dangerous. The Coalition decided to leave it alone and built warning beacons around it. Ships were told to stay away, but Earth had never stopped watching. So-Young pressed a button on her control panel. A secure communication channel opened instantly. "This is Research Station 7 calling command. Priority Alpha." The response came within seconds. "Command here. Go ahead, Dr. Kim." "The Shadow Gate is active. I repeat, the Shadow Gate is showing massive energy spikes. We need immediate consultation with Admiral Park." There was a brief pause. "Stand by for encrypted channel transfer." The screen flickered, and suddenly So-Young was looking at Admiral Hyun-Woo Park. He was a stern man in his 50s with gray hair and sharp eyes. Behind him she could see the bridge of a military vessel. Strange, because according to official records, Admiral Park commanded a small patrol fleet that protected Earth's farming colonies. "Dr. Kim, give me your report," the Admiral said. "Sir, the gate has been building energy for 3 days. The quantum readings suggest it's preparing to open some kind of portal. The dimensional barriers around it are getting weaker." Admiral Park's expression became very serious. "Are you certain about this?" "Yes, sir. I've run the test 12 times. The patterns match the theoretical models for interdimensional gateway activation. If this continues, something is going to come through that gate." The Admiral was quiet for a moment. Behind him, So-Young could hear other voices giving orders and reports. It sounded much busier than a simple patrol ship should be. "Doctor, I'm sending Captain Lee to pick you up. Pack all your research data and prepare for immediate evacuation." "Sir, with respect, I should stay here to monitor the situation. This could be the most important discovery in—" "That's an order, Dr. Kim. Captain Lee will arrive in 6 hours. Be ready." The communication ended, leaving So-Young staring at a blank screen. She had never seen Admiral Park look so worried. In all her years working for Earth's Deep Space Research Division, she had never been ordered to abandon her post. She began gathering her equipment and data storage devices. As she worked, she thought about the strange things she had noticed over the years. Earth's research stations were always equipped with the most advanced technology, even though Earth was supposed to be a peaceful farming world. The communication systems were military-grade. The computer systems could process data faster than anything the Coalition used. And then there were the supply ships. They came every few months, bringing food and equipment. But sometimes So-Young saw other ships in the distance. Ships that didn't appear on any official schedules. Ships that looked nothing like the peaceful cargo vessels Earth was supposed to have. 6 hours later, Captain Dongmin Lee arrived in a ship that definitely did not look like a research vessel. The craft was sleek and black, with weapon ports clearly visible along its hull. It moved through space with the grace of a predator. "Dr. Kim, I'm Captain Lee. Are you ready to go?" "Yes, but Captain, what kind of ship is this? I've never seen anything like it in the Earth Fleet database." Captain Lee smiled. "That's because it's not in the database, Doctor. This is the Silent Thunder, and officially, it doesn't exist. Please board quickly. We have a schedule to keep. As So Young stepped aboard the mysterious ship, she realized that Earth had been keeping many secrets. The interior was filled with advanced military equipment. The crew moved with the precision of trained soldiers, not research personnel. "Captain, where are we going?" she asked. "Luna Base. You'll be briefed when we arrive." The trip to Luna Base took only 4 hours. Captain Lee's ship moved faster than any vessel So Young had ever traveled in. As they approached Earth's moon, she expected to see the familiar research domes and mining facilities that every coalition citizen knew about. Instead, she saw something impossible. Hidden on the far side of Luna was a massive military complex. Huge shipyards stretched across the lunar surface. Dozens of warships sat in construction bays, some nearly complete, others just beginning to take shape. The ships were unlike anything in the coalition fleet. They were larger, more heavily armed, and built with technology that seemed decades ahead of anything she knew about. "Welcome to Luna Command, Dr. Kim," Captain Lee said. "This is where Earth's real work happens." As their ship landed in one of the underground bays, So Young saw hundreds of people working on weapon systems, shield generators, and engine. Designs that defied everything she thought she knew about human technology. Earth wasn't the peaceful farming world it pretended to be. It was a military power that had been hiding in plain sight for 2 centuries. A transport vehicle met them at the landing bay. As they drove through tunnels carved deep into the lunar rock, So Young saw even more surprises. Massive computer systems ran calculations for fleet movements. Training facilities prepared soldiers for combat in zero gravity. Research labs worked on weapons designed to fight enemies that didn't exist in normal space. Finally, they arrived at the command center. Admiral Park was waiting for her, along with several other officers she didn't recognize. Behind them, enormous screens showed star maps with ship positions marked across human space. There were far more ships than Earth was supposed to have. "Dr. Kim," Admiral Park said, "welcome to the real Earth Defense Force. What you're about to learn is classified at the highest level. For 200 years, we've been preparing for the day when the Shadow Gate would open. That day is almost here." So Young looked around the room at the military officers, the advanced technology, and the screens showing a secret fleet spread across the galaxy. "How long have you known the gate would activate?" "Since the day we found it," Admiral Park replied. "The Coalition thinks we discovered it by accident. The truth is, we've been watching it since before we joined the galactic community. We know what's on the other side, Doctor, and we know it's coming." The Admiral walked to the main display screen. 200 years ago, a probe came through, the gate. We captured it before anyone else knew it existed. Inside, we found data about a species that destroys everything it encounters. They call themselves the Void Harbingers, and they've been waiting for the gate to fully activate. So Young felt cold despite the warm air in the command center. Why didn't Earth tell the Coalition? Because the Coalition would have panicked. They would have tried to destroy the gate, which would have only made things worse. Instead, we made a choice. We would prepare in secret. We would be ready when the enemy arrived. Admiral Park turned to face her directly. "Dr. Kim, your readings show that the gate will fully open within the next 72 hours. When it does, an invasion force will come through that will make every previous galactic war look like a minor disagreement. The Coalition has no idea what's coming. And Earth does? Earth has been getting ready for this war for 2 centuries. Every farming colony has hidden weapons. Every cargo ship carries military equipment. Every research station like yours has been watching for signs that the enemy was stirring." The Admiral pressed a button, and the display changed to show Earth itself. But it wasn't the peaceful blue and green world that appeared in Coalition tourism videos. Hidden beneath the clouds were massive orbital defense platforms. The asteroid belt was filled with disguised military installations. Even Earth's moon, which the Coalition thought was just a mining operation, was actually the largest fortress in human space. "The question now," Admiral Park said, "is whether 200 years of preparation will be enough." As if summoned by his words, an alarm began to sound throughout the command center. Officers ran to their stations as new data appeared on the screens. "Sir," called one of the technicians, "we're getting reports from all monitoring stations. The Shadowgate energy output just doubled. Estimated time to full activation has dropped to 18 hours. Admiral Park looked at So Young with grim determination. "Doctor, I hope your research will help us understand what we're about to face." General Sujin Choi walked through the underground corridors of Titan Base with the confidence of someone who had been keeping humanity's greatest secret for 30 years. The massive facility stretched for kilometers beneath the surface of Saturn's largest moon. To the rest of the galaxy, Titan was just another human research station studying ice and methane. The truth was far different. "General, the final preparations are complete," said Commander Ji-Hoon Nam as he fell into step beside her. "All systems are green across the board." Sujin nodded. "How long since the last coalition inspection?" 14 months. They spent 3 days looking at our fake atmospheric processors and left completely satisfied. They have no idea what's really down here. They entered a massive chamber that had been carved from solid rock. The ceiling stretched up into darkness, supported by pillars that could hold the weight of a mountain. But it wasn't the engineering that took your breath away. It was what filled the space. Hundreds of warships hung in construction cradles, each one larger and more powerful than anything in the Coalition fleet. Some were nearly finished, their hulls gleaming under the work lights. Others were just metal, skeletons waiting for armor plating and weapon systems. Robot workers moved between them like busy insects, welding, installing, and testing every component. "The Titan yards have been our most productive facility," Commander Nam said with pride. "We've built 60% of the fleet here over the past 50 years. Sujin stopped at an observation platform overlooking the construction bays. Below them, workers were installing the main guns on a battleship that was longer than some Coalition space stations. The weapons were massive kinetic cannons that could punch through any known shield technology. "What's the status on the Soul?" she asked, pointing to the largest ship in the facility. "Final systems testing starts tomorrow. She'll be ready for deployment in 48 hours. The crew has been training in the simulators for 6 months. The Soul was humanity's newest Dreadnought-class vessel. It carried enough firepower to level a small moon, and enough armor to survive direct hits from Coalition heavy weapons. More importantly, it was completely invisible to every scanning technology the galactic community used. "General," called a Yar voice from behind them. They turned to see Dr. Minho Yoon approaching with a data pad in his hands. The chief engineer looked tired but excited. "Doctor, please tell me you have good news," Sujin said. "The quantum phase generators are working perfectly. We can make our entire fleet invisible to Coalition sensors. They'll never see us coming." Dr. Yoon had been working on stealth technology for 20 years. His breakthrough had come from studying the wreckage of an alien scout ship that crashed on Earth decades ago. The Coalition never knew about the crash because it happened in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, and Earth's secret recovery teams got there first. "What about weapons effectiveness?" Commander Nam asked. "Even better news. The enemy's energy-based defenses are useless against kinetic weapons. Our railguns and mass drivers will cut through their ships like paper. They've never fought anyone who still uses physical projectiles." General Choi smiled. "The galaxy thinks we're primitive because we use metal bullets instead of energy beams. They have no idea that primitive can be more effective." They walked to another section of the base where the command center coordinated secret operations across human space. Massive screens showed the location of every hidden Earth facility, disguised warship, and camouflaged weapon platform. To most people, these would look like innocent civilian installations, mining ships, research stations, agricultural processors, but each one could transform into a military asset within hours. "Show me the asteroid belt positions," Sujin ordered. The display changed to show the space between Mars and Jupiter. Hundreds of objects drifted in their usual orbits, looking exactly like normal asteroids and mining platforms. But the computer overlay revealed the truth. Nearly half of them were actually heavily armed battle stations, their weapons pointed toward the outer system where the Shadowgate waited. "The Coalition has been flying through our defensive perimeter for 2 centuries, Commander Nam said. They never suspected that those mining platforms could turn into fortress guns. What? About our ship positions? Sujin asked. Another display showed cargo vessels moving along standard trade routes throughout Coalition space. Each ship appeared to be carrying food, manufactured goods, or raw materials. The reality was that every vessel contained advanced military equipment and trained combat personnel. Operation Garden Party has been our greatest success, Dr. Yoon said. We've positioned assets in every major system. When the time comes, the Coalition will discover that their peaceful human neighbors have enough firepower to defend the entire galaxy. General Choi had been part of Operation Garden Party since its beginning. The plan was simple but brilliant. For 200 years, Earth had played the role of the galaxy's farmers and miners. They sent ships full of food to feed other worlds. They built colonies that supplied raw materials for Coalition industries. But every farm was also a military depot. Every mining operation included weapon manufacturing. Every cargo ship could become a warship in a matter of hours. "Ma'am," called a technician from the communications station. "Priority message from Admiral Park at Luna Command." The main screen flickered, and Admiral Hyun-Woo Park appeared. Behind him, the bridge of his command ship buzzed with activity. "General Choi, we have a situation. The Shadow Gate has accelerated its activation sequence. Dr. Kim's analysis suggests we have less than 12 hours before something comes through." Sujin felt her stomach tighten. They had hoped for more time to complete final preparations. "What are your orders, Admiral?" "Begin Phase 1 of Protocol Blackout immediately. All hidden assets are to prepare for combat operations. This is not a drill." "Understood, sir. Titan Base will be ready for deployment in 6 hours. Make it 4, General. I have a feeling we're going to need every ship we can get." The communication ended, and suddenly the entire base transformed. Alarms sounded, but they weren't panic alarms. They were the coordinated signals of a military force that had been preparing for this moment for decades. Throughout the facility, blast doors opened to reveal hidden launch bays. The disguised research station on Titan's surface began to retract, exposing massive defense turrets underneath. Ships that had been hidden in underground hangars started their engines and prepared for launch. "All department heads to the command center," Sujin announced over the base intercom. "Operation Blackout is now active." Within minutes, the senior staff had assembled. These were people who had spent their entire careers maintaining humanity's greatest deception. They were engineers who built weapons disguised as farming equipment. They were pilots who trained for space combat while pretending to fly cargo runs. They were soldiers who had never seen battle but were ready to defend their entire species. "Listen carefully," General Choi said to the assembled group. "For 200 years we've lived a lie. We've pretended to be peaceful farmers while building the most advanced military force in galactic history. We've hidden our true capabilities behind a mask of simple technology and friendly cooperation." She paused to look at each face in the room. These people had sacrificed normal lives to maintain Earth's secret. They had families who didn't know what they really did for work. They had friends who believed they were just another part of Earth's civilian space program. That deception ends today. In a few hours, something is going to come through the Shadow Gate that wants to destroy every living thing in this galaxy. The Coalition doesn't know it's coming. They don't have the weapons to fight it. They don't have the ships to stop it. Commander Nam stepped forward. "But we do." "Yes, we do," Sujin confirmed. "We have been preparing for this war since before. Most of you were born. We have ships hidden in every system. We have weapons that the enemy has never encountered. We have people who have trained their entire lives for this moment." Dr. Yoon activated a holographic display that showed the true extent of Earth's hidden military. Thousands of ships appeared on the map, scattered throughout Coalition space. Battle stations emerged from inside asteroids. Orbital platforms revealed their hidden weapons. Even civilian space habitats showed their secret defensive capabilities. "My God," whispered one of the younger officers. "We've militarized everything." "Not militarized," General Choi corrected. "Protected. Every human colony, every trade route, every peaceful research station has been designed to defend itself and its neighbors. We haven't been building an army to conquer. We've been building an army to protect." The display showed more details. Food shipments that contained ammunition. Medical supplies that were actually combat gear. scientific equipment that could be rapidly converted into weapon systems. For 2 centuries, Earth had been disguising its military buildup as peaceful trade and research. "The Coalition is going to be shocked when they learn the truth," Commander Nam said. "They're going to be grateful when they see what we're protecting them from," Sujin replied. An alert sound came from the communications station. "General, we're receiving transmissions from all hidden assets across the galaxy. Everyone is responding to protocol blackout." Captain Haijin Lim stood on the bridge of the Iron Resolve and watched the Shadow Gate tear itself apart. The ancient structure was dissolving at the edges as something massive pushed through from the other side. Energy waves pulsed across space, making her ship's shields flicker with each impact. "Captain, we're receiving emergency signals from Coalition Fleet Command," reported her communications officer. "The Galactic Defense Force is requesting immediate assistance." Haijin almost smiled. For 200 years, the Coalition had treated Earth ships like taxi services and cargo haulers. Now they were begging for help from the same primitive humans they had dismissed. "How many Coalition ships are left?" she asked. 17 out of 43, ma'am. The rest were destroyed in the first wave." Through the main view screen, Haijin could see the wreckage of what had been the galaxy's most powerful fleet. Coalition ships drifted in pieces, their energy shields useless against the crystalline weapons of the Void Harbingers. The enemy vessels looked like living gems, their surfaces reflecting the stars as they moved through space with deadly grace. Range to the enemy formation? 12,000 kilometers. "And closing, Captain." "Good. Signal all ships in our group. Prepare for combat engagement." Around the Iron Resolve, 36 other Earth vessels dropped their disguises. Cargo containers fell away to reveal heavy cannons. Mining equipment transformed into missile launchers. What had looked like a peaceful trade convoy became a battle group that outgunned the entire Coalition fleet. "Captain," called her tactical officer, "the Void Harbingers are scanning us. They seem confused by our ship designs." "Let them be confused," Haijin said. "Fire all weapons." The Iron Resolve shuddered as its main guns launched a barrage of solid, metal projectiles at near light speed. The kinetic round struck the nearest enemy vessel and punched straight through its crystalline hull. The alien ship exploded in a shower of glittering fragments. All around them, Earth ships opened fire with weapons the Coalition had never seen before. Railguns that fired metal slugs at incredible speeds, mass drivers that hurled chunks of asteroid at enemy targets. Plasma cannons that burned through alien armor like it was paper. The Void Harbingers had never fought anyone who used physical weapons. Their shields were designed to stop energy beams and particle streams. Against solid projectiles moving at tremendous speeds, they were completely defenseless. "Direct hit on enemy flagship," reported the tactical officer. "Their shields didn't even slow our rounds down." "Target the next largest ship," Haijin ordered. "Show them what 200 years of preparation looks like." On the other side of the battlefield, Ambassador Kyung-Soo Jang was having the most difficult conversation of his diplomatic career. The Coalition High Council had gathered in emergency session aboard their command ship, and they were demanding answers. "Ambassador Jang," said the Coalition Supreme Commander, a tall alien with blue skin and too many eyes, "your ships are using technology we have never seen before. How is this possible?" Kyung-Soo had been Earth's representative to the Coalition for 15 years. In all that time, he had smiled and nodded while alien leaders talked about humanity's limited capabilities. He had listened to speeches about how Earth needed protection from more advanced species. He had watched as Coalition military leaders dismissed human tactics as crude and ineffective. Now it was time to tell them the truth. "Supreme Commander, Earth has not been entirely honest about our military capabilities." The chamber erupted in angry voices. Representatives from dozens of species shouted questions and accusations. The Supreme Commander raised forearms for silence. "Explain yourself, Ambassador. For 200 years, Earth has been building a defense force in secret. Every cargo ship, every mining station, every research facility has been part of a massive military network. We have been preparing for the day when something would come through the Shadow Gate." "You mean you have been preparing to conquer the galaxy?" shouted the representative from Centauri Prime. "No," Kyung-Soo said firmly. We have been preparing to defend it. On the main screen, they could see Earth ships destroying Void Harbinger, vessels with weapons that seemed impossible. Ships that should have been helpless against advanced alien technology were cutting through the enemy fleet like predators hunting prey. "How did you know the Shadow Gate would open?" asked the Supreme Commander. "Because we captured one of their scout probes 200 years ago. We learned about the Void Harbingers before we even joined the Coalition. We knew they would come eventually, and we knew that when they did, the galaxy would need defenders." Kyung-Soo activated a holographic display that showed the true extent of Earth's military presence. Hidden bases appeared throughout Coalition space. Disguised warships revealed their real capabilities. Peaceful human colonies showed their defensive installations. "Every system in the Coalition has Earth defense assets," he continued. "Every trade route has been protected by our ships. Every time a Coalition vessel was attacked by pirates or hostile aliens, Earth forces dealt with the threat without you ever knowing we were there." The alien representatives stared at the display in shock. For 2 centuries, they had believed they were protecting a primitive human civilization. Instead, that civilization had been secretly protecting them. "Why did you not tell us?" the Supreme Commander asked. "Because you would have tried to stop us. The Coalition believes in peace through negotiation. Earth believes in peace through strength. We knew that when the real threat came, diplomatic solutions would not be enough." Back on the Iron Resolve, Captain Lim was proving that point. Her ship had destroyed 6 Void Harbinger vessels and was moving to engage their command ship. The enemy was learning that their crystalline technology, for all its beauty and power, could not stand against human weapons designed for one purpose: total destruction. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the Void Harbinger flagship," reported the communications officer. "Put it through." The view screen filled with an image that made everyone on the bridge step backward. The Void Harbinger commander was a creature of living crystal, its body reflecting light in patterns that hurt to look at. When it spoke, its voice sounded like breaking glass. "Human vessels, you fight with primitive weapons. Your technology is crude. How do you destroy our ships?" Captain Lim smiled. "Because primitive works." She cut the transmission and turned to her weapons officer. "Target their command ship. Full spread, all guns." The Iron Resolve unleashed everything it had. Kinetic rounds, plasma bolts, and guided missiles struck the Void Harbinger flagship from every direction. The alien ship's shields flared and failed. Its crystalline hull cracked and shattered. Within seconds, the most advanced vessel in the enemy fleet was reduced to glittering debris. All across the battlefield, the same scene was repeating itself. Earth ships that had spent decades disguised as peaceful merchants were revealing themselves to be the most effective fighting force the galaxy had ever seen. Human tactics, human weapons, and human determination were proving superior to alien technology that was thousands of years more advanced. "Captain," called the sensor officer, "we're detecting massive reinforcements coming through the Shadow Gate. Hundreds of ships." Hye-Jin looked at the tactical display. The first wave of Void Harbingers had been largely destroyed, but the enemy had far more vessels waiting on the other side of the dimensional portal. "Signal Admiral Park," she ordered. "Tell him we need immediate backup." "Ma'am, we're receiving responses from Earth forces throughout the galaxy. Every hidden asset is moving to support us." On her screen, Hye-Jin could see hundreds of new contacts appearing throughout the system. Ships that had been disguised as cargo haulers were dropping their camouflage and revealing massive weapons arrays. Space stations that looked like research facilities were transforming into fortress platforms. Even asteroids were opening up to reveal gun emplacements that had been hidden for decades. The Coalition fleet, what was left of it, moved to support positions behind the Earth vessels. Their energy weapons were useless against Void Harbinger shields, but they could provide covering fire and electronic warfare support. "All ships, this is Captain Lim," she broadcast on the open channel. "The enemy thinks we're primitive. They think our weapons are crude. They think we can't possibly stand against their advanced technology." She paused as another wave of enemy ships began emerging from the Shadow Gate. "Let's show them how wrong they are." Specialist Tae Young Shin watched the space battle from the command center of Fortress Luna. humanity's hidden stronghold on the far side of Earth's moon. His job was to coordinate ground-based defenses in case the enemy broke through the fleet. But right now he was watching his people prove that sometimes the best defense was a devastating offense. "Sir," called one of his technicians, "we're receiving real-time data from all combat zones. Earth forces are reporting 93% kill ratios against enemy vessels." Tae-young nodded. It was exactly what the simulations had predicted. The Void Harbingers had never fought an enemy that used kinetic weapons. Their shields, their armor, their entire defensive philosophy was built around stopping energy-based attacks. Against solid projectiles moving at incredible speeds, they were helpless. What about casualties on our side? Admiral Bora Kang stood in the command center of the massive starship Eternal Guardian and watched as the second wave of Earth's hidden fleet dropped out of hyperspace. The sight was magnificent and terrifying at the same time. Over 3,000 ships materialized around the Shadow Gate, each one larger and more heavily armed than anything the Coalition had ever built. "Admiral, all fleet groups are reporting ready status," said her operations officer. "We have ships positioned in every system within 50 light years." Bora nodded as she studied the tactical displays. For the past 6 hours, Earth forces had been revealing themselves throughout Coalition space. Mining platforms that had operated for decades suddenly transformed into massive weapon stations. Cargo ships shed their disguises to become destroyer-class vessels. Even scientific research stations opened hidden bays to launch fighter squadrons. "What's the enemy count now?" she asked. "Over 2,000 Void Harbinger ships have come through the gate, ma'am. But our first wave has already destroyed 400 of them. Enemy losses are running at 12-1 in our favor." The numbers would have been impossible to believe if Bora hadn't seen the battle reports herself. Human kinetic weapons were cutting through Void Harbinger forces like they were made of glass. The alien energy shields that had seemed so powerful against Coalition forces were useless against solid projectiles fired at near light speed. "Admiral," called the communications officer, "we're receiving a priority transmission from Dr. Sung-Min Cha at the research facility." "Put him through." Dr. Cha appeared on the main screen, his usually calm demeanor replaced by excited urgency. Behind him, Bora could see banks of computers analyzing captured Void Harbinger technology. "Admiral Kang, I have critical information about enemy capabilities. We've been studying the wreckage from the first battles, and I've discovered something important." "Go ahead, Doctor." "The Void Harbingers aren't just using energy shields for defense. Their entire ship design is based on quantum field manipulation. They can phase in and out of normal space, which is how they've been avoiding some of our attacks." Bora frowned. "Are you saying they can become invisible?" "Not invisible, but they can shift into a parallel dimension temporarily. However, I've found their weakness. The quantum fields that allow them to phase are unstable when exposed to unpredictable energy patterns." "Meaning what, exactly?" Dr. Cha smiled. "Meaning that human weapons, with their chaotic firing patterns and random trajectories, disrupt their quantum fields. Every time we fire at them, we're forcing them to stay in normal space where they're vulnerable." "Doctor, you're telling me that our primitive weapons are actually the perfect counter to their advanced technology?" "Exactly. They've spent thousands of years perfecting defenses against predictable energy weapons. They never encountered an enemy crazy enough to throw chunks of metal at them at tremendous speeds." Bora turned to her tactical officer. "Relay Dr. Cha's findings to all ships. I want every captain to know that our weapons aren't just effective, they're specifically effective against this enemy." Across the fleet, human commanders received the information with grim satisfaction. For 2 centuries, Coalition species had looked down on Earth's preference for kinetic weapons. They called human tactics brutal and unsophisticated. Now those same brutal tactics were saving the galaxy. On the far side of the battlefield, Colonel Ye Song was leading a very different kind of mission. Her special operations team had managed to board a damaged Void Harbinger command ship that was drifting dead in space. The mission was simple: plant quantum disruptors throughout the vessel and gather intelligence on enemy capabilities. "Team Alpha, report," she whispered into her comm unit as she moved through the crystalline corridors of the alien ship. "Disruptor planted in the engine section, Colonel. The quantum field generators are more complex than our models predicted. Team, Beta here. Disruptor is in place near what looks like their command center. Colonel, you need to see this. Yejin made her way to Beta Team's location, moving carefully through passages that seemed to shift and change as she watched. Void Harbinger ships were alive in ways that human technology wasn't. The walls pulsed with energy, and the floor beneath. Her feet felt warm and organic. She found Beta Team standing in a vast chamber filled with crystal formations that reached from floor to ceiling. Each crystal pulsed with different colored light, and the patterns seemed to contain information. "What am I looking at?" she asked. "We think it's their data storage system," said Sergeant Minsu Park, the team's technical specialist. "But Colonel, the information in here, and it's not just about their technology, it's about us." Yejin moved closer to examine the crystals. As she approached, images began forming in the light patterns. She saw Earth as it had been 200 years ago. She saw the first contact between humans and the Coalition. She saw Earth ships moving through space, appearing to be simple cargo vessels. "They've been watching us," she realized. "They know about our disguises." "Yes, ma'am, but look at this." Sergeant Park activated a portable scanner and pointed it at one of the larger crystals. The device translated the alien data into human language, and words began scrolling across its screen. Species designation, human. Classification, unknown threat level. Analysis. Primitive kinetic weapons suggest low technological development. Recommendation: ignore until final phase of cleansing. Yejin smiled grimly. "They underestimated us." "There's more, Colonel. They have tactical data on every Coalition species, energy weapon specifications, shield frequencies, ship designs. They've been planning this invasion for centuries. But there's almost nothing about human military capabilities, because they never bothered to look past our cover story," Yejin said. "They saw farmers and miners and decided we weren't worth studying." She activated her comm unit. "Command, this is Colonel Song. We've access to enemy intelligence files. The Void Harbingers have detailed tactical data on all Coalition forces, but they know almost nothing about Earth's real capabilities." Admiral Kang's voice came through clearly. "Excellent work, Colonel. Plant your remaining disruptors and get out of there. We're about to show them just how much they don't know." As Yejin's team completed their mission, the main battle was entering a new phase. The Void Harbingers had realized that their standard tactics weren't working against human forces. Instead of the quick victory they had expected, they were facing an enemy that seemed to get stronger with every engagement. "Admiral," reported the tactical officer, "enemy forces are regrouping. They're forming a defensive formation around the Shadow Gate." Bora studied the enemy positions. The Void Harbingers were learning, adapting their strategy to deal with human weapons, but they were still thinking like a technologically superior force fighting primitives. "Signal all ships," she ordered. "Prepare for Operation Hammerstrike." Throughout the human fleet, captains received their orders and began moving into position. Operation Hammerstrike was a tactic that had been developed specifically for fighting enemies with superior technology. Instead of trying to match alien capabilities, it relied on human strengths, unpredictability, overwhelming firepower, and the willingness to take risks that no sane species would consider. "All ships report ready, Admiral. Execute." What happened next would be studied in military academies for centuries afterward. 3,000 human ships moved toward the Shadow Gate in a formation that looked completely chaotic to alien observers. Ships crossed in front of each other, weapons fired in seemingly random directions, and the entire attack appeared to be a disaster waiting to happen. But the chaos was carefully planned. Every ship knew exactly where it was supposed to be. Every weapon was aimed at a specific target, and every movement was designed to make it impossible for the enemy to predict what would happen next. The Void Harbingers tried to use their quantum phasing technology to avoid the attack, but Dr. Cha's discovery proved correct. The unpredictable nature of human weapons disrupted their quantum fields, forcing them to remain in normal space where they were vulnerable. The result was devastating. In less than 10 minutes, human forces destroyed over 800 enemy ships while losing only 17 of their own. The aliens' technological superiority meant nothing against tactics they had never encountered, and weapons they couldn't defend against. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the Coalition High Command," reported the communications officer. "Put them through." The Coalition Supreme Commander appeared on the screen, his multiple eyes wide with disbelief. "Admiral Kang, your forces have just achieved what our entire fleet could not. How is this possible?" "Supreme Commander, Earth has been preparing for this war for 200 years. We studied the enemy. We designed our weapons specifically to fight them, and we trained our people to use tactics that no advanced civilization would ever consider." "You mean you've been planning this deception since before you joined the Coalition?" "Not deception, sir, protection. We knew this day would come and we made sure the galaxy would be ready." On the tactical display, Bora could see the Shadow Gate beginning to fluctuate. The massive portal was becoming unstable as more Void Harbinger ships tried to come through while the human fleet controlled the space around it. Fleet Admiral Wu Jin stood on the bridge of the Earth flagship Indomitable Will and watched the most important battle in galactic history unfold before him. The Shadow Gate pulsed with unstable energy as thousands of ships from both sides converged on the massive portal. This would be humanity's final test. "Admiral, all fleet groups are in position," reported his tactical officer. "We have every available ship committed to this assault." Wu Jin nodded as he studied the tactical display. Over 4,000 human vessels surrounded the Shadow Gate in a complex formation that had taken decades to perfect. Each ship knew its exact role in the coming attack. Each captain understood that failure meant the end of all life in the galaxy. "Status report on the quantum anchor device." Dr. Yoon Soo Han appeared on the main communication screen from her position aboard the Yao research vessel Discovery. "Admiral, the reality anchor is functioning within acceptable parameters. However, deploying it will require a direct approach to the gate's quantum focal point. The delivery ship will have to get within 50 meters of the portal itself." "Survival chances for the delivery crew?" Dr. Han was quiet for a moment. "Essentially, 0, sir. The energy levels at that distance will overwhelm any shielding we can provide. It's a one-way mission." Wu Jin had expected this answer, but hearing it still made his chest tight. Somewhere in his fleet was a ship and crew that would not be coming home. They would die to save everyone else. "Admiral," called his communications officer. "Captain, In Young Park of the Last Stand is requesting permission to speak with you. Put her through." Captain Park appeared on the screen and Wu Jin could see the determination in her eyes. The Last Stand was a modified destroyer that had been stripped of everything except engines, armor, and the quantum anchor device. It was built for one purpose: delivering the anchor to the Shadow Gate's core. "Admiral O, my crew and I volunteer for the final mission. We understand the risks." "Captain, are you certain?" "Once you begin your approach, there will be no turning back." "Sir, my crew has been preparing for this mission for 5 years. We know what we're signing up for. Earth has protected the galaxy in secret for 2 centuries. Today we protect it openly." Wu Jin felt a surge of pride in his people. This was what made humanity special. Not their technology or their weapons, but their willingness to sacrifice for others. "Captain Park, the honor is yours. All ships will provide covering fire for your approach." "Thank you, Admiral. Last stand out." The communication ended, and Wu Jin turned his attention back to the battle. Void Harbinger forces had formed a defensive shell around the Shadow Gate, knowing that humanity was planning something. Their crystalline ships moved in perfect formations, their weapons charged and ready. "All ships, this is Admiral O," he broadcast to the entire fleet. "Today we finish what we started 200 years ago. Today we prove that the galaxy was right to trust us, even when they didn't know they were doing it." Around the Shadow Gate, human ships began their final assault. The attack was unlike anything ever seen in space warfare. Instead of elegant energy beams or sophisticated guided missiles, the human fleet unleashed a storm of metal and plasma that tore through enemy formations like a hurricane through glass. Kinetic rounds fired from railguns punched through void, Harbinger shields as if they didn't exist. Mass drivers hurled chunks of asteroid at enemy vessels with devastating effect. Plasma cannons superheated alien hulls until they cracked and shattered. Enemy losses are mounting rapidly, reported the tactical officer. They're trying to concentrate their forces around the gate's focal point. Signal all ships to increase the rate of fire. Give Captain Park a clear path to her target. On the last stand, Captain Park watched the human fleet create a corridor of destruction through the enemy formation. Explosions bloomed across space as Earth weapons found their targets. The Void Harbingers fought back with energy weapons that lit up the darkness, but their attacks were increasingly desperate. All stations, prepare for final approach, Park announced to her crew. Engineering, I need maximum power to the engines. Weapons, keep firing until the last possible moment. Navigation, plot the most direct course to the quantum focal point. Captain, called her tactical officer, the quantum anchor is armed and ready for deployment. All we need to do is get close enough. Park looked at her crew, people who had volunteered to die for the chance to save the galaxy. They were farmers' children from Earth's agricultural colonies. They were miners' sons and daughters from the asteroid belt. They were ordinary people who had chosen to do something extraordinary. It's been an honor serving with all of you, she said simply. The last stand accelerated toward the Shadow Gate, its engines pushing the ship faster than it was designed to go. Around them, the space battle reached its climax as human and alien forces clashed in desperate combat. Captain, enemy ships are trying to intercept us, reported the navigation officer. Signal the fleet, we need immediate support. Admiral O watched the last stand's approach on his tactical display. The small ship was surrounded by enemy vessels trying to stop its mission. All ships, protect Captain Park's approach. Everything. We have now. The human fleet responded with overwhelming firepower. Ships that had been holding back their heaviest weapons unleashed everything they had. The space around the Shadow Gate became a storm of metal and energy as humanity fought to clear a path for their volunteers. On the last stand, alarms sounded as enemy fire began to penetrate their armor. The ship shuddered under the impact of crystalline weapons, but Captain Park kept her course steady. 50 kilometers to target, called the navigation officer. 30 kilometers, 20 kilometers. The ship was falling apart around them, but the engine still functioned and the quantum anchor remained intact. That was all that mattered. 10 kilometers to quantum focal point, announced the tactical officer. Deploying anchor in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Deployed. The quantum anchor shot out from the last stand like a silver comet, its trajectory perfectly calculated to reach the Shadow Gate's most vulnerable point. As it flew toward the portal, Captain Park made her final transmission. Admiral O, anchor, away. Mission accomplished. Tell Earth. Tell them we were proud to serve. The last stand exploded in a brilliant flash as enemy fire finally overwhelmed its defenses. But the quantum anchor continued on its path, reaching the Shadow Gates. Or just as Dr. Han had calculated, the effect was immediate and catastrophic. The massive portal began to collapse in on itself, its quantum fields destabilizing as the anchor disrupted the dimensional barrier. The Shadow Gate, which had been a doorway between realities for thousands of years, began to tear itself apart. All ships emergency withdrawal, Admiral O commanded. Get clear of the gate's collapse radius. The human fleet pulled back as space itself seemed to twist and buckle around the dying portal. Void Harbinger ships caught too close to the gate were pulled into the dimensional vortex, their crystalline hulls crushed by forces beyond comprehension. On the bridge of the indomitable will, Admiral O watched as the Shadow Gate finally collapsed completely. The massive structure imploded in a flash of light that briefly outshone the nearest star. When the glare faded, nothing remained but empty space and the drifting wreckage of the enemy fleet. Admiral, we're receiving damage reports from all ships, said his communications officer. Total fleet casualties, 43 vessels destroyed, 112 damaged. Enemy casualties, complete elimination of invasion force. Wu Jin closed his eyes for a moment, thinking about Captain Park and the other crews who had given their lives. The price of victory had been high, but the alternative would have been the destruction of all life in the galaxy. Signal Coalition. Command, he ordered. Tell them the threat has been eliminated. The Coalition Supreme Commander appeared on the main screen, his alien features showing exhaustion and disbelief. Admiral O, our sensors confirm that the Shadow Gate has been destroyed. The invasion force has been eliminated. How do we thank you for what Earth has done? You don't need to thank us, Supreme Commander. This is what we've been preparing for since the day we joined the Coalition. Protecting this galaxy has always been our mission. But why did you keep your capabilities secret? Why didn't you tell us what you were really doing? Wu Jin looked out at the space where the Shadow Gate had been. Because someone had to be ready for the threats that diplomacy couldn't solve. Someone had to be willing to do the hard things that peaceful civilizations couldn't do. Earth chose to be that someone. In the days that followed, the truth about Earth's secret mission spread throughout the Coalition. The galaxy learned that the peaceful farmers and miners they had patronized for 2 centuries were actually their protectors. Every cargo ship had carried weapons. Every mining station had been a fortress. Every research facility had been watching for signs of interdimensional threats. The reaction was mixed. Some species felt betrayed by the deception. Others were grateful for the protection they had unknowingly received. But all of them recognized that humanity had saved the galaxy from total destruction. Ambassador Kyung-Soo Jang found himself at the center of lengthy negotiations about Earth's new role in the Coalition. The secret was out and there was no going back to the old arrangements.